Welcome to the Peak Endurance Podcast. Episode 110 is an interview with Megan Harper and Matt Veenstra, the directors of GSER, the Great Southern Endurance Run in Victoria, Australia. In this episode, we discuss their involvement in the ultra running scene, the new course and distances on offer, increasing the community feel in ultra running, and how they are encouraging female participation in the sport. They are also giving away free entry to the race. The competition for a free entry to any distance is in 100 words or less. Explain what feeling you get when you're in the mountains. Of course, creative and inspiring answers are what we are looking for. Answers need to be in by the 14th of June and email to me, isabel@peakendurancecoaching.com.au. Good luck. If you enjoy this episode, could you do me a favour and go on over to Apple Podcasts to rate, review and subscribe? It really helps grow the audience and the show. Thanks so much for your ongoing support. Are injuries or niggles ruining your enjoyment of running and hindering your performance? If so, get on top of these by seeing the specialists at Health and High Performance. Utilising the latest in technology and with a wealth of experience, the team at Health and High Performance can assist you with all of your running injury and performance needs. So, to get back to enjoying your running and achieving the results you are capable of, head to healthhp.com.au/run or find them on Instagram, Health High Performance. Health and High Performance are located in Mont Albert, Melbourne, but are also available for telehealth appointments, not only Australia-wide, but around the world. Contact them on their website to find out more. Wild Earth Australia are the online store to help you make the most of the outdoors with top quality gear at great prices. Peak Endurance Podcast listeners can use the discount code Peak Endurance in all capitals at checkout to get 10% off. Head on over to wildearth.com.au to get everything you need for your next adventure. If you are looking to run further or faster than you ever have before, you need to have structured, individualized training to help you get there. If you want to achieve the best that you are capable of, email me, isabel@peakendurancecoaching.com.au to get a program started. As always, if you have any ideas for future interviews or topics, please let me know. Have a great week of running and racing. Enjoy the podcast. Hi, Megan and Matt, and welcome to the Peak Endurance Podcast.
Thanks. Great to be here.
No worries.
Thanks for having us on. Yeah.
Can you tell each of you, taking turns, tell the listeners a bit about yourselves, just a little bit, your athletic backgrounds and how you got into running or ultra running?
You go ahead.
Ladies first. Ladies first.
I guess my background, I trained as an environmental scientist and a few years ago changed careers to be a primary school teacher. So now I teach PE from prep to year 6. Also a mum of 2, so that keeps me quite busy. I've always been involved in sport from a young age. My dad was right into sport, did a lot of triathlons, probably started in little aths and tried, I think, every sport under the sun as a teenager. So from water polo, triathlons, fun runs, basketball, you name it. I got into running probably after that. It's been off and on. So I did a little bit of running and first probably got inspired to do something a bit bigger when I was in Barcelona. A guy was in a pub and he said, "Oh, I just ran my 100th marathon." So I'm in here celebrating. And I thought, well, he's done 100. I could at least do one. So then I decided, as I do, I get a little bit enthusiastic. And 3 months later was going to be the Melbourne Marathon. So I'm like, that's it. I'll just train, find a training plan online, train up, do the Melbourne Marathon. I did it, but it wasn't very successful. Yeah, so 3 months from not running to running the Melbourne Marathon. And my nutrition was lacking. I think I had like 2 lolly snakes and water, and that was about it for the whole marathon, and really died in the ass. But got it done. I finished, but then it was a bit inconsistent after that. It was a little bit too much to go from 0 to a full marathon. And then I sort of got back into it with Traralgon Harriers and started doing like the 5K runs. And a friend who I met there said, hey, you should try out some trail running. So I thought, oh, okay, I'll train up with you. And I did, my first trail run was the 13K in the Baw Trail Fest at Mount Baw. And then had a little bit of time off, had the girls, and then got back into it. And got to do my first ultra, which was the Warby 50 a few years ago. Nice. So that's basically, where I'm at the moment.
Cool. No, and sorry, I also forgot to introduce my co-host, Ron.
Hello.
Sorry.
Hey, Ron.
So often forgotten.
It sounds terrible.
Ron, let's just let the ladies have the conversation here. They can cover the topics better than what we can, definitely. So.
Yeah, well, maybe for this one a bit. But anyway, Matt, tell us a bit about your background.
Okay, so back in my school days, I never really had the desire to run any more than 400 meters. I could run 100 meters and 200 meters and 400 meters on the athletics days, and even on the cross country days, I also walked. I ran a bit, but I also won at the same time. So I'm like, well, okay, I can get away with running and walking and still winning a race. So my mind was like anything more than 400 meters, like 2 laps around an oval. That's too far. And that was that school. Then I progressed into my early 20s, and then I just sort of, in many ways, wasn't that fit at all. But I moved and I bought my house, and the best thing to do to experience and learn about all where the streets go and everything was to start running and walking to explore the neighborhood. And so that's where sort of running came from there. And so building on that, I then had the brainy idea to become a personal trainer. So I changed careers and I became a personal trainer. And then you train people up to do Run for the Kids or Oxfam or whatever it may be from there. And so that's where the desire for me to become, to do marathons and half marathons. And then I heard about this run called 2 Bays, where at the halfway point, you get to ring this bell. And I thought, oh, how cool. You get to ring a bell at the halfway point. Why not sign up for that? How good? How good is that?
Did they tell you that the halfway point was actually 28 kilometres though?
Well, yeah, I sort of figured that. I'd done a marathon probably a month and a half before. So I'm like, okay, I'll just give it a whirl and go from there. So, yeah, my first 2 days experience was a very interesting one, because at about the 13K mark, a bunch of kangaroos started bounding through the bush and cleaned up me and another guy.
Wow.
Oh, that was you.
And so that was pretty interesting. And I had Dave Eady onlooking, and he enjoyed, I think, the comical of us 2 guys just hitting the deck as
I can imagine
we're sort of
enjoying that.
running on. That was quite funny. Made it to the Dramana turnaround point, rang the bell, and then, oh, bugger, I got to go back up and over after seat and make my way back to Cape Shanks. So I crossed the finish line, and I got it done, which was really great. But the very next day, I had to go and see the podiatrist, because the trail runners that I was wearing, I had developed a blister underneath my big toe and needed to relieve a little bit of pressure out of from the nail, and it was disgusting. Then sort of the things progressed from there, and then you meet up with a great trail running community, and you get inspired to do longer and further runs. And so you go back and do 2 days again, but then you have the Baw Trail Fest not too long after that, and then a couple of guys there say, oh, there's a run, a 75K run up on Mount Buffalo. You should come and do that. So then you go from there and you do that. And then you hear about this run called UTMB, and you go, oh, gee, how do I get to do that? Oh, I have to run 100 Ks in the Blue Mountains to qualify and get points. So you do that, and then you go in the ballot for UTMB, and then you miss out. So then you have to earn more points by doing other runs. And then you go, okay, well, there's I think called 100-mile run, and you go, oh, wow, okay. So you head up and then you pace people during the 100-mile run, and you go, yeah, I could do this. And so then you sign up for that the following year, and then you get enough points. So that was Alpine Challenge.
Yeah.
Back when it was based out of the Bogong Village, which was, a really unique start and finishing spot.
Yeah.
And then you go, okay, I've got enough points. I'll go in the ballot for UTMB, and then I got in. So that was 2016, and I completed that, and then I completed it again in 2019. So,
oh wow,
yeah. So I've done UTMB twice, and I have no hesitations in going back and doing it again if I ever get the chance. And we'll see what the future brings with that. So, yeah.
So, Megan, does that mean UTMB's in your future too?
Yeah, it probably is. There's no way that I could let him go and run on those trails and not go and do it too. So,
yep. No, that's fair enough. No, we've got you on the podcast today because you are race directors for GSER, and we're going to go through some particular points. But first of all, how did you guys, because this is your first year directing GSER, how did you get involved?
I guess my first involvement in GSER was in 2019, where I ran the event, the 50-mile, and that it only happened to be that I was turning 40 in 2019, and I decided, I want to run 40 Ks for my 40th birthday. And my birthday was that weekend, so I looked for runs on that weekend, and there weren't any 40K runs. There was only the 50 miles, which I thought, well, 50 miles is close to 40, so I'll do that. So I ended up running the event that year for my birthday and being on top of the Twins at midnight when I turned 40.
Oh, awesome.
Which was pretty amazing. There were a few tears on the way up to the top of the Twins, and that wasn't just because I was turning 40. That was because I was out in the middle of the night getting up a mountain. So that was sort of how I got involved in GSER. Plus, I had volunteered and ran in mountain sports events. So mountain sports were the previous owners. That's sort of where my involvement started.
And I suppose for me, I was helping Sean and Mel with mountain sports, either volunteering and running in a fair few of their events. I signed up to do the 100-miler at 2017 GSER, but I got hailed on, and I was really, really cold. So once I got to the turning point, you turn right to go up and over the Viking and continue on your 100-mile journey, or you turn left and head down to Lake Cobbler. I took the easier option and finished the 50-mile instead. And then I helped crew my mate Chris Roberts and a couple of the other guys that were still coming through on the next day that had been out all night and tackling the Barry Saddle and up and over the Twins, and then as they were making their way down to Harrietville and still had 30-odd K to go back into Bright, where they finished at the 2017 GSER. So, yeah.
And can I ask how the current restrictions and everything are affecting your planning of the race?
It is personally, from a personal point of view. Look, we are doing what we can to put structure in place so that the event will be able to be ran. There are many things that are out of our league and out of our hands to do with anything. But I think with all things going well, we should be able to run the event with a few. What can we say? Probably guidelines that we can make and ensure that all the runners out on course are going to be safe, and any volunteers and so forth are going to be safe, as with other events that have already been ran in the first half of the year. November is still a fair way away, so we will just monitor what's going on and see what we can do to get through and get to that point, and then have a really successful event. So
Yeah.
You've changed the format and the course a little bit from the previous years. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like what's new?
Okay, so traditionally the GSER course, so in 2017 it was from Buller to Bright, and then 2019 the planned event was from Bright to Buller, and that is a point to point, which it can be an interest for many runners. As new owners of the event, what we wanted to do is create more camaraderie out on the trail, make it a little bit easier for support crews, aid stations, and also the medical teams to be able to access runners out on the trails. We wanted to bring the event and base it out of Harriettville and support the Harriettville businesses and then the community of Harriettville. So by basing the event out of Harriettville, we can then utilise more of the trails that are in and around that area. So we also introduced the 28K to be able to have an introduction to mountain running, sky running, and that's a little cream on the top. So the format for 2021 GSER will be on Friday the 12th of November. The 100 miles will start at 7 a.m. They'll make their way on a very flat park run 5K out to the Harriettville Trout Farm before then heading up Northwest Spur. So that first 5K is just to get the nerves out. Yeah, warm up and get your rhythm going before you get to go and experience 1,000 meters of vert and 4Ks up to Mumsy Hut, up to Feathertop, and then heading across the Razorback before you jump on to the AAWT from Diamantina Hut down to St Bernard, and you make your way out to the Viking before turning around, and then coming back up to Diamantina Hut, and then down Bonaccord and finishing in Harriettville. So that should be 161 Ks and over 10,000 meters of vert. So yeah, that should be really good. On the Saturday, which is 24 hours later, we have the 28K, which once again we'll do the flat 5K start out to the Trout Farm, and then making their way up Northwest Spur up to Feathertop, and then they'll come down Bungalow Spur. So that's just an up and down, and the beauty is that the 28K runner should be done when the lead runners of the 100 milers should be finishing. So building that the camaraderie and then cheering them over the finish line is what we're sort of aiming at. And then we have the 50 mile, which will start at 8 a.m. on that Saturday. Once again, heading out on the flat 5K up to Feathertop along the Razorback, and then they'll get to come down to Mount St Bernard, up and over the Twins like the 100 mile, but just after the Twins is a mountain called Mount Murray. And that there, if you're looking in a southerly direction from Mount Murray, you get the really beautiful views over the Wonnangatta area, looking out towards the Blue Rag, over the Dargo High Plains, and it's a really magical spot. So they'll head up to there, then turn around, and then once again, like the 100 miler, up to Diamantina Hut, and then down Bonaccord back into Harriettville. So the beauty is that once the 100 milers will be going out, the 50 milers will be sort of with a bunch of those as they're coming back through, and that will be really inspiring for 50 mile runners to be able to have a 100 miler that's been out there for 24 hours longer than what they have, and running beside them and sort of encouraging and so forth. So yeah, that's the format at this present time. The 50 mile will have just over 5,000 meters of vert. So that's what we're looking at. So that's most vert than more 100Ks and some of the harder 100Ks out there as well. So yeah, should be pretty good testing, but also very rewarding event. So.
And that's what makes it rewarding is, overcoming the challenges. So yeah, they sound like good events.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, you're currently showcasing different women who have entered GSER on social media. Can you explain the purpose for this?
Yeah, I guess the first idea was that when we were looking behind the scenes on the people that are signing up and looking at that and realizing the percentage of women were really low across all events. The 28 had a few more than the other events, but overall, yeah, the percentage was quite low for women. And I thought, well, what's the reason? There's no physical or mental reason that would not allow women to be entering these events as much as men enter these events. So as I spoke to Matt, and I said, well, let's see what we can do to try and improve this, because not just for GSER and having more women involved, but over the trail community in general. So yeah, I just really like an advocate for women in sport, and being a PE teacher in a primary school, advocating for girls to be more involved in sport and to give things a go. So we just come up with an idea that if we showcase women that are either training up and doing their first GSER, or women that have done GSER, and being able to show how strong those women are and be role models for other women that might want to be involved in it, and to show that it's not just top athlete women that are doing these things, but it's any woman could give it a go. So that was sort of the preface behind wanting to start this, and to increase women's participation in trail running.
And what is it, do you think, about GSER that is beneficial to women in particular? Like, what is it that
could appeal to them? I guess.
Could appeal to them.
Yeah, I think there's a few things that we'll have, like, I guess Matt said to me earlier that it's me being an RD. So a woman being an RD for an event like this can help encourage other women to be involved. That just to take on a new challenge. So there's always a reason, there's always other challenges, or they've just finished something that was a big challenge for them and there's something to look forward to. I think with the 28K run that's now as part of GSER, it's a stepping stone for some of those women that may not have the confidence to go, okay, I'm going to try this really big 50-miler event or 100-miler event, that they've got a stepping stone to get that confidence in mountain running, to go, oh, okay, well, I could do that 28 then maybe next time. And I've seen these other women that did the 50 and 100-miler in the event, that might inspire them to try those as well. I think we're trying to add in some other safety aspects. So I know women running at night and women running by themselves, I know for me that is something that I don't particularly like doing. And I know part of a training program, you can't always get your training runs in the day. So you do have to sort of sometimes step out of your comfort zone and do those runs, or at least find ways to have someone go and run with you at night, or go on the trails so you're not by yourself if you're not comfortable in doing that. So we're looking to make sure that everyone that's out on the trails have trackers, so we'll be live tracking them. And I know when I was doing GSER in 2019 that I struggled with not being able to see the markers and losing the trail on the way back, especially sort of from Salwen, when you come across and over the Twins, the trail in the dark can get very, well, I guess a little bit like animal trails, or is it the real trail? So I said to Matt, I really want to make sure that those trails are marked well, highlighted, so runners can find those trails and not feel scared that they've got lost in the middle of the bush. So I think those sort of things always add to it. We've got an extra aid station that will be Mount Murray. So we'll have Blowhard Hut and a Mount Murray aid station on the 50-miler. So there's an additional one in there for the 50 and the 100-milers. Also that we're going to add paces for the 50-miler, which hasn't been the case previously. So I think all those little things add up to giving a woman confidence in trying something and knowing they can have extra support and those extra safety factors out on the course too.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So would you say that you think that mainly the barrier for women to enter mountain races is that fear of sort of being alone on the trails?
I think that is one of them. Like I know for me that just having the time, well, also having the time to train. So we're always pulled in so many different priorities, so many, like if you've got children, you've got to be looking after them, you're working, and even just trying to find the time to fit in the training to be able to be confident that you can take on an event like that.
Yeah.
So I know that is one, but also, just if you don't have those supports of other people that you can go out running with, I know that would be a barrier to be able to go out and train on a trail by yourself or train at night. I think also women, I know, sometimes can feel judged about even their appearance or their ability, which might stop them from giving it a go because they don't want to turn up to an event where it's all males and there's only a couple of females, and that can feel quite intimidating. And I know even turning up, I remember doing my first 4 peaks, and I turned up, I didn't know anybody there. I just decided I wanted to train for an event that year, and I was going to do all the 4 runs. A previous year I'd done 2 of them, but I thought I'll turn up, I'm going to do all the 4 runs. That's my goal for the year. And I turned up and didn't know anyone. And even that is intimidating, to turn up and not know anybody at a race.
Yeah. Do you think, or do you have an opinion on how other races, not necessarily mountain races, but other races in general, could do more to promote female participation?
Yeah, I think as we've started to do, just highlighting those strong women out there that are already doing those races, and the women that have done those specific races, or whoever's organising it, just to highlight the different women. Also, maybe just having a way to link up women to have that support and encouragement, to help them train for the event, or just to be there as a support for questions or ideas, because I guess women have similar reasons why they've got those barriers where they don't run. So having someone to talk about those with and how they overcome them, and giving them ideas on how to get past those barriers. Yeah.
Okay, I think also, just my 2 cents worth, speed or pace tends to have a big factor in some women's thinking. That, the whole, I could never be fast enough to do that sort of thing. I think the less emphasis on cutoffs and severe cutoffs may also help encourage.
And I think that's one thing that we will make sure of, the cutoffs that we've got in place for GSER. We can end up being quite flexible with those, given depending on the situations, depending on the.
Can't have them out there all week.
No, that's true. And depending on the weather and various different things like that as well. But we want to be really supportive of, if people are traveling along really, really well, we don't want them to stress about cutoffs at particular aid stations, or you have to reach this point by this time at all, especially if they are out there enjoying themselves and making forward movement as well. So
excellent.
And if a woman sort of came to you and said, "Oh, I'd love to do the race, but I'm not really sure with the terrain, like, is it really difficult?" What would you say to them about the actual course itself?
I guess, as you do when you train for anything, I guess if you would say, obviously it is a mountainous course, so you're going to have to train for the vert that's going to be there, and that it can be quite rocky, but there's also some really flowy, grassy sections as well on the course. It's not all technical. And it's all about just getting out there and training on those different types of terrain. So as long as you get more confident with running over rocky sections and climbing over logs, because there was plenty of logs down on the AAWT when we were there last.
Yeah.
I think it's just getting out and training on those different terrains is the only way you're going to get more confident on giving that a go.
Yep, and also having the correct shoes that are best suited to you and varying terrain as well, equipment as well, things like having hiking poles.
Yeah.
And then if they need some guidance, then putting them in touch with a coach that would be supportive of them, very much like peak endurance coaching. So, yeah.
I think I've heard of this.
Slip that one in. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I just know that some women, can sometimes worry about tough terrain in courses, and I think, as long as you get in all the training, just train for it. It's possible for anyone, really.
Yeah, and even if they get a chance to be out on some of those trails, just to have a look and see. I know going out and training on some of it gave me more confidence to know, okay, well, this is what it's going to be like when I'm doing the event. And that what's going to come. Yeah.
And also by having volunteers that are really positive, reinforcing that positiveness, that understand what a runner goes through, the highs and the lows, and being able to manage that and encourage a runner to keep going, or just being out there and being able to give them a high five or a smile or to pep them up. Having the right people out on course as well is what we really plan on having, so that it doesn't matter if you're an experienced runner or a first timer, that you're going to feel that you've got reassurance out on the trail that I'll get to this aid station and they'll be able to look after me and help me feel safe and look after me with food and whatever the need is. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so do you have any final, I've got some other questions I wanted to ask as well, but just on this topic, any sort of final thoughts on that or points you wanted to make?
I think it's just that I think women probably lack sometimes a bit of self-confidence, and that they can just give anything a go.
Yeah.
That's what I've done. And I think with a good support, Matt in my ear going, yeah, you should try that. You should do that. And then I just get that bit of enthusiasm. Go, yeah, I reckon I could. And you just got to train. You've got to put your program together and have the confidence that once you're training on a program and that you will be able to do it. And as Belle Campbell had put in her questionnaire that I did to her, it's just, 1 foot in front of the other. Yeah. If you're putting it 1 foot in front of the other, you're still got a pace. You're still going forward.
Exactly. Yeah.
So even in those hard times, you'll still get there as long as you're putting 1 foot in front of the other.
And with the positive, with the positive reinforcement of a good, really supportive group around.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's a husband or wife, or if it is a group of friends or whatever it may be, then that gives you the power to feel empowered to be able to achieve anything that you want to put your mind to. And then by going out and doing it, it's looking to tick that box and fill that cup of whatever it may be that you need. So.
And I think also the way you're organising it to sort of have a bit more of a community feel with it, I think that will help as well, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
that's one thing that we're really aiming for, definitely.
Yeah, and I think women are a lot more capable than they often give themselves credit for. So, that's certainly true. Now, I know for people who have entered the race, you're organising some webinars. Can you tell us something about that?
Yep. So one thing of being able to bring all of the entrants that have signed up to GSER in 2021 together is a bit by using technology to our advantage, and being able to hold a webinar that's not going to drag on for hours and hours, but it's going to be short, sharp, and to a point where the entrant can take some really positive information away from it. So we're looking to hold 6 webinars, and those webinars will vary in different topic each webinar, and there'll be one a month, and roughly go for half an hour, 45 minutes, up to an hour, or depending on what the topic is. We're going to range from being motivated during winter. So sometimes you don't want to get out of bed and get out and run, through to hiking with poles, using hiking poles and being able to use them to your advantage. Then there's other topics like being able to gauge what your food and your water intake needs to be. So having a look at that. There's also talk on gear, so how the right footwear can determine if it makes or breaks your race. Obviously, training in the correct footwear and just some extra tips like that. Yeah, so just a varying different topic each webinar, and then giving each participant the opportunity to do a Q&A, just to be able to get a bit of feedback if they need help with this or need help with that, or just to pick up some tips and being able to set them on the right foot. So.
And how do they register for these?
So anybody that is a registered GSER runner for the 2021 event will be receiving a dedicated email, and that is a newsletter, a monthly newsletter, and the link to that webinar for that upcoming month will be in that. We'll also be recording them so that any entrants that come on later will be able to go back and be able to listen in and listen to the webinar of a previous session. So.
And have any? I'm thinking about it now. Have any other races ever done something like this? I don't really think so.
Look, I know that there's been an elite Q&A that has been done sort of before the events.
That's right.
But
that's more of an information sort of series. I don't think there's been anything like this. Not
that I'm aware of, and that's just a point of difference that we're offering to people as well. Being able to bring people together a little bit as well, and then get a bit of an introduction. So by having some of our sponsors and some of our coaches that are involved with GSER on board as well, that sort of gets a little bit of highlighting to their professional services that they have, and then that gives the runners access to a little bit of information that professional can portray on a particular subject and topic. So.
Yeah, I guess it's all about just building that GSER community. So it's not just about turning up and running and then thank you, there's your medal and off you go. It's trying to make it more of a community feel. Everyone can encourage and support each other and help each other out.
Very much so. And today is day one of our push-up challenge. So we've got Team GSER, which is the push-up challenge team, and we've got ourselves plus a couple of other runners that have signed up for GSER on board doing the push-up challenge, and that is to help with mental health and breaking down the barriers and raising money. We'll be raising money for Headspace, and any money that we raise contributes towards them. So today's 130 push-ups. So
if people listen to this, in a week or so, can they jump on board a bit later?
They can still donate money. So it's going for 25 days.
25 days.
25 days. So yeah, they can.
30 push-ups, did you say?
We've got 100. We had to do 130 today.
And it's 3,318 push-ups over that 25 days. So
nice.
Sounds wonderful.
We get a couple of days of no push-ups in that. So Yeah, we can relax then. But yeah, they can always donate. Go on to the Push Up Challenge website and donate.
Okay.
And now I guess is your chance to plug any other races you might be involved in. So, are there any other races that you're involved in organising?
There's been a couple that we have been involved with, as well as race directing. So there's a run called Duncan's Run, which is held at the Tarabulga National Park, which is out in Gippsland, that we are involved in and part of that committee. And that's just been a run that's been close to our hearts. It's a pretty spectacular place to be able to run on the trails and really good terrain to explore, and then also supporting the local community up there and so forth. So we have been race director and photographer for that event. But there is another event that is a little bit closer for us, and that's the Rugby Twilight Trail Run, which is just on the trails, very, very close to where I live here in Warragul. And the beauty of that run is it's a twilight trail run on some really sweet single track trails. Nothing too crazy, but it's a really great place to run, and then just a really good community event that we help out with and have fun putting on. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you coming on the podcast today. Did you have any other final, I don't know, tips or tricks for people who want to do GSER that you might want to give them?
Look, we just look really forward to putting the event on, and know that the 100 mile, the 15 mile may not be for you. There is the 28K. Yes, you do have to qualify, but we're giving the people the option not to necessarily have to do events, but to train up and show that they've trained for it, instead of having to sign up for a hard event. Yeah. And then they can submit their application through to that.
But that's also because of COVID and not as many events running. And yeah, if you can show that you can train, you've trained and you'll be able to do that, then yeah, there's no reason why you can't come and do GSER. And
then also holding the event in Harriettville. Bright have enough of the spotlight, all the events going on there as well, and being able to support the community of Harriettville is one thing that we're really looking forward to doing as well. Working with the Alpine Shire Council, with Hawthorn Resort Management, as well as Parks Victoria. And then if you are doing the 50 and the 100 mile, you get to see sections of the AAWT, which is Australian Alps Walking Trail, that not many others get to see at all. And that there is it's one of the pinnacle trails in Australia that many people should get out and explore more of. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you can, as I say, you can forget about how bad your lungs are hurting and your legs are hurting by just looking at the scenery, because it's just spectacular.
Yeah. No, that's a perfect place to end it, because yes, it is a beautiful part of the country there. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, and we look forward to seeing how the whole race pans out.
Good luck.
Thanks, Izzy. Thanks, Ron.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.